Not every closed door is a mistake. Not every blocked path is the enemy working against you. Some of what you've been calling rejection might actually be protection. And if you're honest, part of you already suspects that. Part of you has been pushing against a door that keeps resisting, and something deeper keeps asking whether you should be pushing at all. That's what we're talking about today. Not every obstacle, not every delay, not every unanswered prayer. But specifically, the kind of closed door that might not be closed against you. It might be closed for you, guarding you from something you can't fully see yet from where you're standing. Here are 7 signs that God may be protecting you from the wrong door. The first sign is the clearest one, even though it's the easiest to rationalize. The door requires you to compromise your obedience to God in order to walk through it. This doesn't have to be a dramatic moral failure. It can be subtle. A relationship that keeps asking you to quietly set aside something God has spoken clearly to you about. A business arrangement where the terms require you to bend your integrity in a way you keep trying not to notice. An opportunity that would give you what you want but pull you away from what God has actually called you to. Psalm 84 says, God will not withhold any good thing from those who walk uprightly. Which means that a door requiring you to compromise your walk with Him has already told you what kind of door it is. You don't need more confirmation when the door itself is the test. Stop asking God to open it and start asking yourself why you're still standing in front of it. The second sign is one we've touched on before from a different angle, but it belongs here too because protection has its own texture. There is pressure, but there is no peace. Philippians 4 tells us to let the peace of God guard our hearts and minds. That word guard is military language. Paul is describing peace as a sentinel standing between you and a decision that could harm you. When you're standing in front of the wrong door, that sentinel goes quiet. The peace lifts. Not always dramatically, not always with a loud warning. Sometimes it's just a subtle absence, a tightness in your spirit every time you imagine walking through. A low-grade resistance that doesn't resolve no matter how much you pray for confirmation. God's peace was designed to function exactly that way. But that absence of peace should not be treated as the final answer by itself. Anxiety can also come from fear, past wounds, or simply the unfamiliarity of something new. So treat it as a serious signal to slow down, pray, test the direction by Scripture, and seek wise counsel before you move forward. Not a verdict on its own, but a warning worth honoring. The third sign requires you to involve people you actually trust. Wise, consistent counsel keeps raising the same concern. Not one opinion, not someone who generally tends toward caution, but multiple, grounded, discerning believers who don't know each other, who have no personal stake in your decision, and who independently keep landing on the same reservation. That pattern is not a coincidence. Proverbs 3 tells us to trust in the Lord with all our heart and not lean on our own understanding. Part of how God honors that posture is by sending confirmation through community. But here's the test. If you've been shopping for a voice that agrees with what you've already decided, that's not seeking counsel. That's seeking permission. Real counsel is the kind you actually listen to, even when it's inconvenient. The fourth sign takes more time to see because it reveals itself through what starts growing around the door. The fruit in and around this situation is becoming unhealthy. Jesus said in Matthew 7 that you'll know a tree by its fruit. That principle applies to doors too. Ask yourself what's been growing in you since you started pursuing this direction. Is there more peace or less? More integrity or more compromise? More clarity or more confusion? Are the relationships and circumstances surrounding this door producing patience, wisdom, and Christ-likeness in you? Or are they producing anxiety, jealousy, competition, and spiritual drift? Bad fruit doesn't always mean the thing is evil, but it may mean that this particular door, at this particular time, for this particular season of your life, is not the right one. The fruit tells the truth even when the desire is loud enough to drown it out. The fifth sign is the one that goes deepest because it's not really about the door anymore. You've become more attached to this door than you are to God. This is how the wrong door does its most serious damage, quietly. It starts as a prayer, a legitimate hope, a good thing you believe God could do. And then somewhere in the waiting and the wanting, it becomes the thing your faith is actually organized around. You're reading scripture looking for confirmation. You're praying, but mostly to change God's mind rather than to know his heart. You've started measuring his goodness by whether this specific thing opens. That's not faith anymore. That's a demand wearing the language of faith. And God, who loves you too much to let an idol grow unchallenged in your heart, may be closing this door not to punish your desire, but to protect the place he's supposed to hold in your life. When a closed door produces more desperation than it produces trust, that itself may be the most important information you've received about it. The sixth sign is one you can only see if you're willing to look at the full picture. God keeps redirecting you through repeated resistance, and the redirections keep pointing somewhere. Acts 16 gives us one of the clearest biblical pictures of this. Paul and his companions tried to enter Bithynia, and the Spirit of Jesus stopped them. They didn't receive a dramatic explanation. They just kept getting redirected, until the night Paul had the vision of the man from Macedonia saying, "Come over and help us." The protection from one region was simultaneously a direction toward another. If you've been facing repeated resistance in the same direction, it's worth asking not just why the door keeps closing, but where the openings keep appearing. Protection from the wrong thing is often simultaneous with preparation for the right thing, even when you can't see the second part clearly yet. And the seventh sign is the one that reframes the entire experience. The closed door is preserving something in you, not just taking something from you. This is what Joseph understood, looking back from the far side of the pit, the prison, and the palace. He told his brothers in Genesis 50 that what they intended for harm, God intended for good. He didn't say the betrayal wasn't painful. He didn't say the closed doors weren't real. But he had lived long enough inside the story to see that even what others had done in cruelty, God had held inside his providence. The pit was dug by his brothers. The prison was unjust, but through circumstances Joseph could not control, God preserved his faith, his integrity, and the character that made him able to carry what came next. The pain was real. The injustice was real. But it was guarding something in him that a premature open door would have cost him. The door that isn't opening may be doing the same thing for you. You can't always see it from inside the disappointment. But the question worth sitting with isn't only, what am I losing by this door staying closed? The better question is, what might God be preserving in me while it does? So, let's be honest about what this means practically. Not every closed door is God's protection. Some closed doors are just circumstances. Some obstacles are resistance worth pressing through. Not every difficulty is a warning, and this video is not permission to quit every hard thing the moment it gets uncomfortable. Discernment requires you to actually look at the signs, not just feel them. Test the door against Scripture. Notice whether peace is present or absent. Listen honestly to counsel you trust. Look at the fruit. Ask yourself who or what your faith is actually organized around. And pay attention to whether repeated resistance is simply blocking you or quietly redirecting you. If several of these signs are present at once, that pattern deserves serious, prayerful attention before you force your way through. Because a door God is protecting you from doesn't become the right door just because you want it badly enough. And the courage to step back from the wrong door, even when it looks like the answer to what you've been praying for, may be one of the most trusting things you can offer God in this season. You are not being rejected. You may be being protected. And the God who closes the wrong door is the same God who Psalm 84 says withholds no good thing from those who walk with him. Trust that today, even if the door is still closed, even if you still don't fully understand it, and even if the right one hasn't come into view yet, if this gave you clarity about a door you've been struggling with, stay close to this channel. There's more biblical wisdom here for the real decisions that don't come with easy answers.